Good evening, performers and friends who come to visit this October virtual poetic license. This is FCTV, and this is an open mic featuring original poetry, solo acoustic music, storytelling, and spoken word performance. My name is Donna Scheer, and it is my pleasure to host this evening, for this is a great place to let our voices be heard. Thanks to Andrew Richards, who pioneers our path through this virtual format, and thank you, FCTV, for providing us with such a variety of programming. If you want to find the current calendar of events, go to the website, fctv.org. Congratulations to our performers, Lynne Viti and Shelby Allen, who recently joined the FCTV family by becoming members. The easiest way to support our mission and our programming is to donate or to become a member. It's only $30 annually. And now, performers, it's our turn to have our voices be heard. Wow, we've got 5 new performers potentially coming to the stage. Danny McLean, Adam Spencer, Jackson Gillman, Brenda Meehan, and Dave Jackson. And it looks like Sue Carlson. Yeah, let's give them a big round of applause. Yay! Looks like Sue Carlson is our new talent agent. Thank you, Susan, for inviting these new friends. When I read your name, unmute your mic, and please say your name again. You'll have the 4-minute time slot for your creative share. Andrew keeps track of the time, and a reminder that these edited performances will be shown on FCTV's Channel 13, as well as its YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to read first, and I will close the night out. Again, I'm Donna Scheer, but tonight I'm actually Mother Nature. And I'll tell you, Mother Nature has her hands full with fires and floods, hurricanes, air pollution, ice caps melting, deforestation, and an ocean full of plastic. And that little thing called global pandemic is causing a lot of trouble too. So tonight I'm beginning with a healing poem titled How Long the Stars, which I wrote this week on my front porch. How long the stars. Sips of air through cloth-covered gags, inside houses boxed but ribbonless, and cars mobile but untouchable. My eyes are awash in salt water. No one looks at me except through the quaver of electric screens. We find we are all hiding. Damnable disease thieving away at my days, striving to steal my breath, stop my heart. How long have the stars been ignored? Why repel into fear? Better to breathe. Fill your lungs from the great blue well. Better to look up and feel your heart stop in the majestic, raw, guttering glimmer of the stars. Almost daybreak, I walk out the door towards illumination. A carpet of crickets echo in the thicket. One tree reaches out her shaggy green arm. I breathe in as she breathes out. Symbiotic sympathy. While that pale rose blooms again in the east. So, thank you. So I'm going to get my list out. And Joyce Wilson, we welcome you to the microphone.
Thank you so much. And I'm unmuted, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. And I think I got this hat at Talbot's, but the first time I wore it, I did wear it in Salem for a poetry event, but I did feel very much at home. There were always women walking by with witch hats when I was there. So I have two poems looking ahead to Thanksgiving. I have two poems about wild turkeys. And the first one, The Wild Turkey's Return, was inspired by groups of turkeys that would congregate in our yard. And they're very repulsive, but they reminded me of they're a challenge to things that you don't want to see, you don't want to deal with, like the homeless, etc. So I tried to get that in this poem. The Wild Turkey's Return. High-shouldered and bony, they venture near, their awkwardness apparent in their walk. They stand too big to hide, too shy to talk, yet chirrup to dissuade us of our fear. As they survey this windswept acres lawn, we ask ourselves what messages they bear and what our duties are, if we should dare to shoo them back to woods, their rightful home. If we should seek the lessons they might teach, that once exiled, they now return in force to take their place and reclaim what was theirs. We watch them slowly draggle out of reach. We want to love them, on whom much depends. Our gratitude for nature, sunlight's jewel, the notion that their coming means renewal, a second chance for us, their awkward friends. And while I was working on this, I came across the notes from Ben Franklin that he didn't make it a public nomination, but in a private letter to his niece, he said he wanted to nominate the wild turkey as the national bird, saying that, for in truth, the turkey, in comparison with the bald eagle, is a much more respectable bird, and withal a true original native of America. So I was thinking of that when I wrote this. The homely favorite of the sly old man, they seem nearsighted in the way they walk, as they explore the layout of the land, uncertain when they raise their heads and gawk. It seems they're always on the prowl, in search of something that they left behind, an argument befitting of a fowl who knows it pays to gesture and be kind. And here comes one with gleaming chest unfluffed and tail outspread in circular display, who holds his wings curled low and fisticuffed, advancing as kabuki dancers may. A large, top-heavy, self-respecting bird who gabbles by design, true to his word. That's it. Thank you.
What I was saying was I love the kabuki line, the kabuki dancers. That was great.
The tom turkeys, whenever they get in their aggressive stance, they're really quite theatrical.
Yeah.
And kabuki is not in keeping with Americana, but that's what they look like to me.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lynne Viti. Lynne Viti of the newly published book of poems, Dancing at Lake Montebello. Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you. I love your Mother Nature. I thought looked like you had come out of a Shakespearean play. That was great.
Oh,
I'm going to read one poem that is not in any of my collections, but it's an older poem. It's called October Sestina for Dawn. We hear you've got more ice cream in the house. Armed with mops and rags, friends came from Maine. They scrubbed the floors, took on the basement room where the teenagers years ago would gather, watch movies on the VCR, or blast their music. You're back a while, another little furlough. It must be odd, this practice of the furlough, the trips from house to hospital to house. All that time you have now to listen to music, to think on past Novembers back in Maine, potato cellar work, when you would gather the spuds and carry them above ground to a room. Amazingly, the house now has so much room. The kids schooled and gone. Back then, they had the furloughs. From school to home to school, they'd gather, books, laundry, CDs, laptops strewn through the house. Then all too soon, they'd vanish. Thoughts of Maine gave way to missing them, their chaos and their music. If you would listen, there's the autumn sound of juncos, maybe cardinals, just outside this room. Perhaps some flew here when the first snow fell on Maine. They think of Massachusetts as the place to furlough. The fine old trees, the shrubbery near the house, all shelter for these songbirds. So they gather. They take off, just like planes. Then soon they gather, trill, call out, call, or chirp. I guess it's music to draw you from the inside of your house. You tiptoe to the porch from living room to savor every moment of your furlough. You're in the moment now, no thoughts of Maine. The weather's getting colder up in Maine. The forecasts call for snow showers, I gather. Good thing you're here for your October furlough. Warm days ahead where we are. Good for music, from headphones or speakers shaking the room. Take a load off Fanny, reverbs through the house. May this restorative furlough, dear friend from Maine, your family in this house, as you all gather, be your music, be your joy in every room. Oh, I forgot to say my name. I'm Lynne Viti. I have couple more. This one, jumping ahead a month and a half, almost 2 months, is called Roller Skating on Christmas. We soared down the concrete sidewalk, flew onto a front lawn to stop, no brakes. This Christmas day's like that, balmy, roses still blooming in the city. Birds ignore the feeder's black seed, finding fresher things on ground and bushes. We leave our gloves on the shelf, no need for wool hats. The snowblowers covered up in a corner of the garage. Should we worry about this warmth or accept it? Put on our sneakers, walk out on this spring-like day, or instead pry behind the sky blue facade that does not open to show us its whirring gears. If only we could clip on our old skates again. Tighten them with the key we kept on a string. Time travel back. Step onto the steep path from parkway to park. Be daredevils again. We'd careen down Hilltop Avenue, intrepid girls with wings on our feet. I have one more. Early morning in Cresson. In my mind's eye, I see it, the stub of the road, dead ending into blue diamond coal, its trucks lined up each morning for the long hauls. To the left, the junkyard, heaps of metal and rubber, hard by an Italianate house, coated with years of dust and cinder ash, facing the junkyard cranes instead of a lawn. A porch swing, vacant even on summer evenings. Only the metal cranes noticed. The folks who lived in the house, white-haired, plainly dressed, bespectacled, came and went together, but mostly stayed home. My father's tavern sat amongst these places, the last in a row of houses. In its former life, the bar housed a bakery, we heard. The baker's family lived upstairs in the cramped rooms. Their kitchen, the bakery itself. I used to pretend I could smell bread baking, the sweet fragrance of airy white loaves turning gold in the long-gone ovens. I went with my father there before dawn, the half-light bathing the block in sepia. I sat at the table in the back bar reading the comics. My father rolled kegs of beer up from the dank cellar. Up on the ragged sidewalk, I stood peering down as he slid the keg into a hand truck, up a plywood ramp and into the tavern. Light crept in through the glass bricks in the storefront. I leaned around the corner of the bar and watched him roll the keg from handcart to its station, waited for the hiss when he tapped the silver barrel. I inhaled the yeasty smell which oddly offended and pleased me. Sounds of traffic began to flow in from the back door, still propped open. I was sent to pick up the paper from the doorstep, laid it on my father's table near the jukebox. It wouldn't be switched on till lunchtime. Hank Williams and Jerry Lee's wails issued from it. But by then I would be back home, quiet streets, small green lawns, lolling on an old quilt spread in shade.
Yay, thank you, Lynn. I love the images. They're so vivid, and it really, puts us to the place that you're talking about in all of your poems.
Thank you.
Especially that first one, you had that seamless movement between past and present, which can be very tricky.
Thank you.
All right. Oh boy, I feel a song coming on, John Jackson.
Boy, okay, let's get this thing organized. Yeah, all right. T'other day, I found one of those clickbait word puzzles on the Book of Face. You know, the grid of random seeming letters with words hidden in them. The text on this one was, "The first 3 colors you see reveal your personality." I just glanced at it for a second, and the first word I saw was poem. Poem is a color. So y'all know that's my muse, limericksofprotest.com. Here's one that I haven't published yet. It's sort of in reserve, and it's also something that I violate just about every day. We Facebook and Twitter each instance of a political hack doing his dance. Each action gets odder as publicity fodder. Does social media need social distance? The half-life of political humor is sometimes short indeed. Here's something I wrote this morning, and by tomorrow morning, it will be completely obsolete. So the entire FCTV audience will think, what the hell was I talking about? Tonight, when his mic has gone mute, watch for Trump to do something cute. He cannot hold silence without some minor violence. Quiet listening is not his long suit. Okay, now, the reason we're all wearing hats is because we were told to wear costumes, and I bet to a person, every one of the people presenting here is sick of wearing masks. So I couldn't think of anything more clever, so I'm wearing a hat. Okay, I'll take it off now. Okay, then. Conspiracy theory du jour, by the way. Everyone who ever met Abraham Lincoln died. Just saying. 400 Halloween. I am dusting off this morbid little thing. I ran it by our unseen patron, Andrew, who also grew up on Tom Lehrer, so you guys are in trouble. Oh, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Believe me, I have tried. Sometimes I'll go back to front and sometimes I decide. And then there's times that I think I should go from bottom to top. As long as there are cats around, it's awful hard to stop. Dum, dum, da, 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 dum, dum, dum. There's more than one way to skin a cat, or so I have been taught. It's lots of fun. You should try it yourself. Make sure that you don't get caught. So many cats, so many ways, at least 100, I guess. The only thing is when you're done, you gotta clean up the mess. Dum, dum, doo, 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 dum. There's more than one way to skin a cat, or so it has been said. And if your ears are sensitive, make sure first that they're dead. You can shoot them, you can drown them, you can bash them with a wrench, but don't throw them in the oven, 'cause it makes an awful stench. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I've known it all my life, and after all he's practicing, I could even skin my. I don't think so. Some people think cats are cute. They like to hear them purr, but I don't care. My underwear is totally lined with fur. Oh, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's not just a cliche. Zootalours and pussycat, one God, ma chatte touche. Some say it's a science, and some say it's an art. Some will use a butcher knife, and some a Cuisinart. There's more than one way to skin a cat. That's what the people say. The rest of the song is censored by the ASPCA. The first time I sang this in public, half the audience sat in stony silence, and the other half just howled. I'm pretty sure that the latter half were dog people.
Or fly people, perhaps.
I wrote this song so long ago that I had to delete the verse that says, "The Secret Service wants to know just what I did with socks."
Thank you, John. That was truly, truly extraordinarily different. Thank you.
It's the best that could be said for it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Let's see. Candy Johansen, you're up, my friend.
Hello, everybody. I'm Candy. And the first poem, my steampunk hat, the first poem I started to write actually in my head after a dear friend of mine's husband had passed away, went into the hospital with a bladder infection and caught COVID and never came home. So anyway, he was in his 80s, but it just made me stop and think. So I call this, I Should Have. I should have laughed anytime and everywhere, ignoring those who sputtered and hushed and shushed the loud sound of gaiety. I should have marched more often, taken my placards and passion and walked until my blisters turned into calluses and my muscles and bones ached with the sweet pleasure and knowledge that I stood up, made myself heard, made myself seen. I should have kissed you long and hard when I had a chance, with so much passion that you gasped when I broke away. I should have bought the tickets to the theater, to the symphony, to the concert, to the movies when I had a chance. I should have yelled road trip and taken off for parts unknown on an adventure full of excitement and wonder. I should have eaten the ice cream. I should have ignored the rolls and ripples of my aging body, tearing my clothes off and running with joy and abandon into the water as naked as the day I was born. I should have told you how important you were to me and how you gave my life meaning when I thought I was too old, too empty, and no longer relevant. I should have taken that one small piece of chocolate and bitten it in half so that I could lay the tiny sliver on your tongue just to watch the ecstasy on your face as it slowly melted in your mouth. I should have written that song. I should have learned to play the piano, the drums, the flute, the frickin' violin. I should have jumped up on that stage the minute they called my name and read my poem, sang my song, recited my speech loud and proud instead of sitting quiet and still, hoping that no one would notice me. I should have. Now I am old and feeble, and those days, those chances are gone. I should have. I could have. I still can. I will. That's the first one. The second poem I have, actually, I wrote a long time ago. I was sitting in the car at a crosswalk, and I looked up and somebody walked by, and I thought, oh my God, they look just like me. So this was the poem I wrote about this. It's called Crossing Time. I saw myself walk past today, along a road of faded gray, a vacant look upon my face, out of time and out of place. I saw myself move slowly on, heading toward what now is gone. I kept my gaze upon the ground and moved along without a sound. The road ahead was long and bleak, its surface hard beneath my feet. My mind let out a silent scream and railed against this waking dream. A journey made of time and space, all roads together in one place. Past, present, future together rush, keeping pace with my onward push. Many miles I walked that day, along that lonely road of gray, searching for what once was mine, out of hope and out of time. And then, of course, I always have to end it with a happy poem. This is a poem I wrote about Halloween. It's called Ghosts, Ghosts. When bright white sheets flutter in the sky, the ghosts are passing by. They moan and groan and raise a fuss, shiver and shake their fists at us. They flitter about with mischief in mind, searching for a particular find. A bevy of children to chase into the night while they continue on their madcap flight. A sweet little succulent Halloween child simply drives the spirits wild. They dip and dive and screech and howl, playing ghostly games most evil and foul. On Halloween night, they dance with glee, though one night a year they're allowed to roam free. So if you chance to look up on Halloween night, be prepared to see the ghosts in flight. That's it.
Yay. And the goblins will get you if you don't watch out.
Exactly. I love that poem.
Well, Candy, I should have told you how much I loved your poems. So I loved your poems.
Thank you, Donna.
All right. Let's see. Patricia Austin, you are up next, my dear.
Aha. Okay. Well, I'm Patricia Austin. And since we're heading into Halloween and we're talking about horror stories, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in our world. And we're coming up on the 3rd, and everyone knows that early voting is happening, I'm sure. And you can find wherever your particular precinct is, go there and vote. I did it today. I know a ton of people who have, and the nice thing would be all votes in before Election Day. That would be really great. Anyway, this poem, I have a poem and a posé, a poetical essay, as I call it. This is called Citizenry in the Time of Trauma. Why do we value the rule of law? And why do we care when others ignore? For without it, the powerful step on the poor. Bigoted bullies determine the score. The fatuous, foolish demand even more. Among us our fallen yield not, from abhor. Without rule of law, it's more than a scare. To a frightened democracy, it's clearly a dare. Do we stand up for justice by means of our law, or succumb to the numbness and simply withdraw? Will the call ignite us to decency? Songs of ethical peons wielding sorcery, rendering superfluous despondency, purging our Constitution back to plebeian nobility. And by peons, I wish we had what, in a different era, it might have been, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land belongs to you and me. And that's what we need to start singing to ourselves and to each other every day, because that's who we are. So the posts say, it's time the human race comes of age. We are diverse. We are all different colors and sizes and interests and capacities. We are from all over this grand globe. Places hot and cold, even-keeled, rough and rocky roads, and tumultuous turmoil. Yet we are one human race. Under the surface differences, we are all the same. We all must eat and sleep and crawl and creep and laugh and weep and try to become something more than we are. Life is hard, no matter what. So what do we want the human race to stand for? If lying is okay, and the legacy of broken children is that for which we accept being known, then the easy path spreads before us. It's easy to be selfish. It's easy to be stupid and irresponsible. It's easy to take the money and run. As long as we ignore the planet on which we exist, burning to the ground around us, as long as we ignore the crying and dying and trying to stay alive of our fellow creatures, both human and otherwise, as long as we ignore those whom we thought were trustworthy, selling our heritage up the river while it still flows and is not yet on fire. If that is the legacy we want to own, then we are on the right path. But if the essence of our souls is allowed to speak forth from our hearts and our minds, then we know we have to take a stand right now before it's too late and say none of this has any place in the ascendancy of the human race. We stop here and draw the line in the sand. That's it. That's it for me. Thank you.
I just said, it's interesting how you included some references to Halloween in your first poem. That was awesome. Okay, thanks, Patricia. Joanne Nadeau, you are up, my friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne Nadeau and happy to be here tonight. I have an essay and a poem. I'm going to read the essay first, and I'm sure many of you have had the experience, as I have, of a song getting not only stuck in your head, but you hear that song everywhere you go. I had that experience with Tom Petty's song, Free Falling, and I was inspired to write this essay. It's called Being Brave. I've been hearing the song Free Falling by Tom Petty everywhere I go lately. In the car, in the grocery store, in the elevator. Tom is belting out his song like he's singing right to me. I picture myself floating in the sky, free falling, with my arms spread out wide. And then I think about that moment before falling, the step before free falling. About 20 years ago, I had the chance to rappel down a mountain. Now, if you know me, you know that being daring is not my thing. I don't skydive. I don't swim with sharks. I don't even swim with dolphins. I consider myself a sideline kind of gal. But here I was at the end of a week-long course on facing challenges, standing on a ledge in a harness and a helmet. I stood at the edge, listening to the guide, not looking down, waiting to be ready. And then I took the first step backwards into space, into nothing. And then in a moment, I felt the rock wall against my foot. I took another step down, all the while clinging to my guide ropes, moving down the side of the mountain, one step, then another. People at the bottom were shouting. Their voices seemed far away, but I could hear their muffled cheers. And then I was down on the ground. It was done. I felt relief, but also amazement. I did it. 3 years ago, my husband died after a short battle with cancer. When we were 19, we got married. Kids, really. And we spent the next 46 years together, raising a family and really finding our way in the world. We made a life together. We faced challenges, and then we faced cancer together. But at some point, his journey became different from mine. He was preparing to die, while I had to prepare to keep living. So back to Tom's song, Free Falling. Right now, it's all about being brave, finding strength, taking a step, holding on, leaning back, trusting the ropes will hold me, trusting my team will guide me, bravely taking a step into a life I don't know, like that first step off the cliff into the unknown. I'm not quite ready for skydiving, but maybe someday, maybe. Thank you. So this poem I wrote very recently. I have a friend who makes pottery, and we were in a conversation, and she was telling me recently that there's a family of potters in Japan. She had traveled to Japan a few years ago, and she met this family of potters who have been making clay the same way for 16 generations. 16. One of the things they do is that they bury their clay for 2 generations later. So the clay that the potters are using today is the clay that was buried by their grandfathers. So I call this poem The Potter. In Japan, a potter prepares his clay. He walks to the field. He buries the clay deep in the earth, buried deep for 2 generations as the clay drinks in the essence of the earth. One day in Japan, the potter's grandchild will dig up the clay. He will make cups for tea ceremonies, cups fired in kilns, methods learned from ancestors, passed down generation to generation, like water flowing down a mountainside. We now stand on a precipice. This moment in time between the past and the future, how will we prepare our world like the potter prepares the clay? What is our vision for the future of this world when we are gone? Our ancestors call to us to remember lessons learned in the past, to imagine a kinder world in the future. What will we leave our grandchildren for them to mold like the pottery in a kiln? I hope that world, that big blue marble spinning in space like a work of art, is filled with love, is filled with peace, is a better place for our grandchildren and for everyone.
Yay.
Thank you.
Joanne, two beautiful pieces. What a fine tribute to your husband's bravery and also your journey into bravery.
Thank you.
Awesome. And now our talent agent, Susan Carlson.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say a couple things before I start. I just want to say I know we're having a debate tonight, and there's still a bit of debate left to have happen, but I already voted. So, done with that. And I still wear my mask whenever I can. Okay, I'm going to do a little screen share here. Let's get that. March 14th, 2020 was my first day of isolation in the era of Corona. 2 years earlier to the day, these images were drawn into my camera's memory. Remember that big winter storm in 2018 when not only the electricity but even cell towers were out for days? Our power was gone. When looking at the edge of the storm, it was clear where the power was. And in that great power was also the dawning of a new day, a day where warm and brilliant rays of sun reach forth their light as if in excitement of the possibilities that arise when the grand power of the storm illuminates everything we had within us all along.
The dawning of a new day. A vision coming out of the edge of a grand big storm.
The narration was called Power, and the video was called Edge of the Storm, Dawn of the Light.
And now we can say yay. That was gorgeous. And what a good reminder that storms come and then storms go, no matter what storms we find ourselves in the middle of.
Well, it's not just that they go, it's that they actually bring opportunity with them, you know. Because of them, good things can happen.
That's right. Thank you so much. Shelby, it's Shelby's turn. Shelby Allen.
Yeah, hi. Hi. Thank you, Donna, Andrew, and everyone. I'm grateful to be here. I have a lifelong struggle. I don't know if I'll, fix it, but designated smiler. So Sometimes that's good, but poetry, this kind of situation is the only time I feel comfortable being sad in public. So here we go. First poem is Putting on My Uniform. I will say before the poem, well, one of the great experiences for me in childhood was Girl Scouts. I thought it was great. And this uniform, everyone had the same one, and you could get medals or badges if you did stuff. But so I thought uniform was good. I didn't connect it with hostile organizations like armies. Anyway, this poem is Putting on My Uniform. I'm tired of it making my breath fog up my glasses. I'm tired of having to fish it out of my purse just to walk in a store. I'm tired because it makes wearing lipstick pointless, and I can't tell if someone else is smiling. I'm tired of being muzzled. The large, soft man said, we'd be tired of winning by now, but I'm not that tired. I'm proud to wear what other people in our country are wearing to protect each other. Okay, another one. New Country. After the American War, she got crouch space on a no-name boat, no food or room for her parents. After kids in the new school called her Chink, stumbling over her name hum, with its hum like a strummed guitar, and its meaning moon angel in Vietnamese. The American teacher renamed her Diana. As she tells me this, she shrugs. Her mild eyes say, in war you lose things. She finished school, now stands all day making happy talk. Do you like this June weather? While cutting my hair. She named her daughters Samantha and Tiffany. For July 4th, she wants to give them a day of fun. Take a boat, she forgets its name, to Martha's Vineyard. The Island Queen, I say, yes. I want to make an apple pie too, but I don't know how.
Thank you, Shelby. A lot of what you said is on all of our minds. Thank you so much. And now welcoming for the first time, Jackson Gillman.
Hey, I'll be closing with a very short song parody, less than 2 minutes. The original you'll recognize, written by Ray Henderson, 5'2", eyes of blue, but there's a little story to precede it. I was taking my recycling to the Onset Recycling Center, as I often do, and I saw another car parked next to mine, which caught my eye, the bumper stickers particularly, which were proclaiming the person's political leanings very clearly. One bumper sticker said, build the wall, deport them all. And another one that says, he won, get over it. So it's obvious, where this person stood on the political spectrum. And I didn't see who was attached to the car. And I was kind of surprised to see that at the recycling center. So I was kind of lingering a bit to catch an eye whose big gas guzzler SUV this was. And so while I was emptying my paper into the dumpster, it became apparent who the person was. It was this older woman who was dumping her papers along with me in the bin. And I didn't mention the other bumper sticker that was so prominent that she wanted everybody to see, that it was on the window, not the bumper, the window. It said, "Hillary lies." So I'm wondering, should I engage with this person as I'm putting my papers into the same dumpster as her, or and I should have followed the advice of the bumper stickers of the people I like that says resist, like don't go there. But I couldn't, and I let slip this one I thought rather innocent, thing. I said, I suppose Trump doesn't ever lie either. And she goes, no, he changes his mind sometimes. I said, he doesn't lie. I mean, it's like the guy is caught bold-faced lying dozens of times a day. It's in the tens of thousands by now during the course of his presidency. And I try and, explain that to her. And she says, you should tune into another network. Oh. And then she notices a little bumper sticker on my efficient little car that says, "Make America Green Again." And she says, you probably believe in all that global warming hoax and stuff as well. Jeez. And I was like almost speechless, but I wasn't. I was countering her, and it wasn't going well. But someone came to my rescue. Another fellow who was at the recycling center stepped in between us, and he said, don't waste your breath. And then I realized he was talking to her about me. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. I could not believe it. And it was not a pleasant exchange. It kind of ruined my day. And, what do I do with this energy, And so I write parodies and I write songs and I wear my politics on my shirt. Here, I forgot, I'm wearing a uniform today. It looks like I'm very patriotic, but if you look closely, it's the logos of all these corporations that run the world, the best democracy that money can buy. And it's like, I don't know if you can read that one too, but, yes, we do need to vote and act. But so I was frustrated with this energy. And I got home and what do I do? So I decided to write a song. And I excuse my disappearance. You're costuming, I'm going to costume a little bit as well. And if anybody has, I don't mean to offend anybody with this, but and if you don't like some of the words, most of the words actually come from the man himself. So, and I believe it's as fair and balanced as Fox News. "6'3", look at me. Anyone with eyes can see that I am God's great gift to broads," or whatever you want to call them. It's okay in my book. "They're so attracted to my hair, I can grab them anywhere. Is there anyone as huge as me? Fair and square, I won that race with my jaded base. I could do no wrong for me, Putin. I didn't need that help from Putin. Those 3 million votes were a hoax, that's all. That's why we need to build the wall. Deport the jerks who don't watch Fox. Elegance and pomp, king of the swamp. Throughout the chaos that I reigned, I'm all that's left when it was drained. What a life, look at my wife, ain't she glam? I made my wealth by flim flam, stable genius is what I am. I wasn't born on third, take my word, I'm not racist, that is gospel. It's the press, not me, that's so damn hostile. 6'3", look at me, still president through thin and thick. The Dems can't send me up the creek. I'm still the country's biggest. I'll make that the universe, and I won't take it as an insult.
Oh, thank you, Jackson. Lighthearted, on one side, lighthearted. I'm glad you wrote that parody. That was cute. Thank you.
Oh, vote.
Vote. Yep, that's the word.
I realized after I had caused this tension by starting the, I suppose Trump never lies, I realized, and it turned out ugly. I think, how would I have done that next time? What did I learn? Because it ruined her day, ruined my day. And it was like this. And I realized, what if I had started out by saying, gee, I noticed, you care about the environment too. You're recycling too. And I was wondering if maybe current administration, policies about the environment are any concern to you. And just had a polite exchange with her, it would have changed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part of why I tell that story. And when I can't, I write funny songs about it, and I get frustrated. But the lesson is
common ground. We can all use it.
Yeah, is to not look at them as enemy, but as how can we find common ground and maybe have a conversation.
Okay, well, my goodness, we're almost at the end. Welcome to Brenda Meehan and Dave Jackson, who are first timers on the virtual poetic license. Welcome, welcome.
I'll just do a quick poem. It was going to be a song, but this was this prompt was coming home, and I'm better at writing lyrics than songs, so this was just a song. I think I was channeling my mom. So You Are the Reason is the name of the poem. I hear you calling in my dreams, reminding me you're still here. I hear you whispering in the wind, you know my truth. You are the reason for love. You are a million and one. You are my life. I hear your sweet melodies in the wind, putting my mind to rest. I feel the warmth of the sun. I feel the moment I'm in. I feel you watching over me. I feel your breath in the wind, assuring me that you're still here watching over me. I hear your sweet melodies putting my mind to rest. I feel your love incessantly. I hear you calling in the night. I hear you say everything will be all right. I feel the wind on my skin. You are a treasure to me. You always stood by me. You are always there for me. I hear you whispering in my ear, reminding me you are still here. I hear you calling in the night. I hear your words. I hear you calling in the night. I hear your voice. I hear your voice loud and clear. I hear your song. You know my soul. I hear you singing from the birds. You know my heart. I hear you calling from the ocean. You know my depth.
Dave, are you ready?
Yes.
Dave Jackson.
How you doing? So nice to be here. This is reminiscent of my grandmother's, called Grandma's Home. These are lyrics, and Brenda helped me with these. She lived in Nova Scotia. And I was thinking of Viola Davis, who is the Rosa Parks of Canada, and she's on a $10 bill. And that made me think of New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, where my grandmother lived on a farm. It all goes back to her home in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, where she cooked for family and whoever walked in. She made us feel like coming home was something special. She laid out her table with a feast fit for a king. Grandma didn't have much money, a child of the Depression. Although she was never rich, she had fresh food and plenty. Grandma worked in the kitchen for hours. The kitchen counters decorated with flour. Aromas filled our senses. Her gift was her measure. She never threw a thing out, always used leftovers, creating recipes all of her own. Pantry filled with care. She reaped what she sowed. Grandma didn't have much money, a child of the Depression. Although she never was rich, she had fresh food and plenty. It all goes back to her home in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia.
Beautiful. Well, we know moms and grandmas never leave us as long as they're in our hearts and in our remembrance in poems and songs. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hello, Adam Spencer. Adam Spencer is brand new to this virtual format. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Great, you're great.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so this is a blog that I put together. It was my first one, and I was asked to talk about my blog, well, say my blog out loud. So here goes. It's called Gotta Dance. Being a ballroom dance teacher has never been more difficult. For me, I have become an online host, technical support, therapist, motivational speaker, accountant, loan specialist, innovator, a dance think tank, and a health and safety specialist. Never in a million years did I imagine that when I took my first dance steps in America, I would now be tackling all these hurdles as a teacher, dance partner, and studio owner. However, adapting to change and the ever-evolving dance industry, catalyzed by the COVID-19 pandemic, I am surprisingly re-energized, refocused, and dancing my promenade chassé in new creative directions. No matter the difficult challenge that is presented to us, similar feeling to a beginner asking to learn to do a samba roll, we all gotta dance, or at the very least have safe access to it. The last 8 months have been tougher than an old school ballet teacher, relentless, unimpressed, and constantly challenging. For many, in particular my senior dance students who may live by themselves, this isolating experience has been a stark reminder of the fragility of life. A constant rhetoric, almost viral in nature, that I am hearing from my senior dance teachers is the fear that they will be unable to dance again or find it impossible to make up for lost time. Being a vehement believer that dance can solve the world's problems, Trump and Biden entering a tap jam could be so effective right now. And being passionately community conscious, I knew that I had to deliver dance in an innovative way to students. That's when Dancescape was created. The Dancescape lecture series has enabled me to connect to existing students and those further afield new to me safely via Zoom twice a week, on Wednesday and Friday at noon. While I'm methodically increasing in-person teaching, I also feel like a clinical field scientist with my thermometer gun in hand. Sorry, I said that a bit wrong, but students and community members log on twice a week for an hour each time, and we discuss the world through the lens of a dancer. Each week, the group is instructed to watch a film that features dance ranging from classic MGM Hollywood musicals to foreign art house films, from ballet to ballroom, from biographic to fantastical. Discussing and exploring the breadth of dance on film has enabled our online dance family to reflect on its meaning personally and collectively as a group. For this growing collective community has been a binding, enlightening, and cathartic journey, especially right now when many of us feel like we may not have got a voice or a platform. I'm guessing the choreographers, directors, producers, dancers, and actors never thought that when they were busting their moves for the silver screen in Tinseltown, that their performances were to mean so much for us today, and in many cases completely evolved from its original intent. So the last week I made my group watch Gotta Dance, and it's a Dori Berinstein documentary about a group of senior dancers that audition and are a senior hip hop team for the New Jersey Nets basketball team. And it was pretty awesome. While grabbing an hour to myself, I started to go on a journey with these senior dancers, documenting the highs and lows of a professional senior hip hop dancer. Yes, it really does exist. Funny enough, I recognize these ladies. Reminiscent conversations of aging bodies and minds, difficulty in remembering choreography, excitement in performing with youthful joy and exuberance. Although a different dance style and scene, this documentary reflected my world. Documentary filmmaker Berenstein might as well have been documenting my regular Monday to Friday schedule. The film's backstage talks of the choreographer and dance captain, not sure if this group were ready to perform an hour before they're about to be on court. Any ballroom teacher recognizes this feeling a week before competition. But through prayer and perhaps a few extra lessons, and by some miraculous terpsichorean intervention, the dance student steps up to the plate and executes with pizzazz and vigor, often at times with a little too much. Nonetheless, they succeed and overcome because they got a dance. And just lastly, after discussing the taboo concept of the aging dancer with my senior female students, and weekly special guest Edie Allweather, who was an original senior New Jersey hip hop dancer, I am constantly impressed with their strength and perseverance. Yes, of course, there are gripes, but come on, what dancer doesn't? Despite me thinking of them as fragile and young students of dance, I sometimes forget that this is a generation that was born into the smog and aftermath of World War II. Played while hydrogen bombs were being constructed and crack cocaine was introduced to our communities. Saw both the Vietnam and Korean War start and end, were thrust into the fight for the Civil Rights Act and succeeded and learned to cope with the emergence of the AIDS epidemic. These strong ladies of dance that I teach know how to fight. They know how to persevere, and no ailing body part or temporary dance-deprived scenario is going to get them down. The age provides wisdom, experience, and grit. And this week I was reminded of that. And if my female senior ladies want to dance, they will. Very much like those tenacious senior hip hop dancers from Gotta Dance. Sorry, senior ladies, I often don't give you enough credit for your perseverance. And thank you for that reminder that we all gotta dance, no matter what is thrown at us. That's the end.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, hey, you're new and you provided us with a first. We've never heard a blog on Poetic License, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize that I wasn't here earlier, and I don't know what the feel is, so like I just kind of like spewed words out at you, so I apologize if it's not in keeping with your normal rhetoric, so I apologize, but I hope you kind of enjoyed it.
It was cool. We've had poems, we've had essays, we've had music, we've had storytelling, we've had a blog, so we've had a lot of cool stuff. And
you look like an autumnal fairy.
Oh, I'm Mother Nature.
Oh, I kind of got that.
Yeah.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, but thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to read one more to close the night. And it's called A Morning Such as This. I would love to live on my front porch in a straight back chair cushioned with quilts. My elbow draped on the railing, favorite pen handily hovers above blank pages in my lap. And it would always be October. Sometimes mild-mannered, Mother Nature is often vividly exuberant as she tosses her leafy crown, jigging lost in windy sounds, a song to the world in her breathy improvisation. And that's over and out for Mother Nature. What a talented group you are, one and all. So many different things we listened and learned tonight. Thank you for your participation in Poetic Virtual Poetic License. Please Email any feedback that you have to andrew@fctv.org. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your suggestions. Don't forget to put it on your calendar. Poetic license will be on Thursday, November 19th. Next, same time, same place. The theme for November is gratitude. No matter what, we can always find something for which to be grateful. Thanks again, Andrew. Yippee to the performers. We're grateful you joined us tonight. So, friends, please be well.